The autumn evening painted Jefferson Elementary in shades of amber as Marcus Brennan stepped through the heavy glass doors. His weathered boots made soft sounds against the polished floor, a gentle rhythm that spoke of measured steps and careful purpose. At 34, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of a man who had seen the world's edges and returned home changed. 80-year-old Emma skipped toward him, her backpack bouncing against her small frame. Her dark curls caught the hallway's fluorescent light as she beamed up at him with the kind of pure joy that made every long night shift worth enduring. "Dad," she called out, her voice echoing in the nearly empty corridor. "Mrs. Patterson says I'm getting really good at reading the hard words now." Marcus knelt down to her level, his calloused hands gentle as he helped adjust her backpack straps. "That's my girl," he said softly. "Your mom would be so proud of how smart you're getting." Emma's expression grew thoughtful for a moment, the way children do when processing something bigger than themselves. "Do you think she can see me from heaven when I read the really tough sentences?" she asked. Marcus felt the familiar tightness in his chest, the sweet ache of love mixed with loss. "I know she can, sweetheart. She's watching you become the amazing person you're meant to be." They walked hand in hand toward the parking lot, where Marcus's old Toyota waited under the dim glow of a streetlight. The evening air carried the scent of fallen leaves and the distant promise of winter. In these quiet moments, walking with his daughter, Marcus felt the peace that had eluded him for so long finally settling into his bones. 2 blocks away, beneath the flickering neon of a corner convenience store, Ricky Torres leaned against a rusted lamppost. His leather jacket hung loose over his thin frame, and his eyes held the restless hunger of someone always looking for the next easy score. At 23, he had already spent more nights in county lockup than most people his age had spent at college parties. Devin Miller shifted nervously beside him, younger and less certain. His hands stayed buried deep in his hoodie pockets, fingers fidgeting with loose change. "Look, man, maybe we should find someone else," he muttered, glancing around the empty street. Ricky's laugh was sharp and cold. "You getting soft on me now, Dev?" That security guard walks the same route every night. Picks up his kid, goes to the grocery store, heads home. Guy's practically begging to get rolled. Through the store window, they watched Marcus's Toyota pull into the parking lot across the street. The headlights swept across the asphalt before cutting out, leaving father and daughter silhouetted in the store's pale glow. "Look at him," Ricky sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "Walks like he's carrying the weight of the world. Probably got maybe $40 in his wallet, but that's 40 more than we got right now." Devin watched as Marcus helped Emma out of the car, the man's movements careful and protective. Something about the scene made his stomach twist with unease. "I don't know about this, Rick. The guy's got a kid with him." Ricky's eyes narrowed as he studied their target. "Perfect," he said quietly. "Makes him predictable. Guys like that never fight back when they got their precious little princess watching." Inside the grocery store's warm fluorescent glow, Emma pushed a small cart while Marcus gathered their weekly essentials. Her concentration was absolute as she carefully placed items in the basket, tongue poking out slightly in determination. The simple ritual of shopping together had become one of their most treasured routines. "Can we get the cereal with the tiger on it?" she asked, reaching toward the colorful boxes on the middle shelf. Marcus smiled, lifting the box down for her. "Just this once, but you still have to eat your vegetables at dinner." "Deal," Emma giggled, making an exaggerated handshake gesture that always made him chuckle. Outside, Ricky and Devin had moved closer, positioning themselves near the store's exit. The parking lot was nearly empty now, just a few scattered cars under the pale streetlights. Ricky checked his watch impatiently, his leg bouncing with nervous energy. "They're taking forever in there," Devin whispered, his voice tight with anxiety. "Maybe we should just wait for someone else." Ricky's jaw clenched. "We've been watching this guy for 3 days. He's soft, predictable. When he comes out, we move fast and clean. You grab the kid's attention, I handle daddy." Through the store windows, they could see Marcus at the checkout counter, Emma standing close beside him, both of them illuminated in the artificial light. The cashier, an elderly woman with kind eyes, was smiling at something Emma had said. "You don't look like much," Ricky muttered, more to convince himself than Devin. Just another working stiff trying to make ends meet. Probably never been in a real fight in his whole boring life. The grocery store doors slid open with a soft whoosh, releasing Marcus and Emma into the cool evening air. Emma clutched a small bag containing her coveted cereal, while Marcus carried the heavier groceries. Their footsteps echoed across the mostly empty parking lot as they approached the Toyota. "Daddy, look how bright the stars are tonight," Emma said, tilting her head back toward the darkening sky. Marcus followed her gaze upward, momentarily lost in the simple wonder that children brought to everyday moments. "They're beautiful, sweetheart. Your mom used to say that stars were just heaven's way of winking at us." From shadows near the store entrance, Ricky straightened. His hand moved instinctively to the switchblade in his jacket pocket, fingers tracing its familiar outline. This was it, the moment they had been planning for 3 long days of watching and waiting. Devin's breathing became shallow as he watched the father and daughter approach their car. The man moved with an unhurried confidence, completely unaware of the danger lurking just 30 feet away in the darkness. "Look at him," Ricky whispered, his voice filled with predatory anticipation. "Not a care in the world. Probably thinks the biggest problem in his life is paying the electric bill on time." Marcus reached the car and began loading groceries into the trunk, his movements efficient and practiced. Emma stood close beside him, chattering about her upcoming school project on dinosaurs. The normalcy of the scene made Devin's stomach churn with growing unease. "Now," Ricky hissed, pushing away from the wall. "Time to teach Daddy a lesson about walking around with easy money." The footsteps approached from behind, deliberate and aggressive. Marcus's hand paused on the trunk lid as his awareness shifted instantly. Years of training had taught him to recognize the sound of approaching threat, the particular rhythm of predators' closing distance. "Emma, get in the car and lock the doors," he said quietly, his tone calm but firm. "But Daddy, we haven't finished loading the groceries," she protested, looking up at him with confused innocence. "Now, sweetheart," Marcus repeated, his eyes scanning the reflections in the car windows behind them. "Hey there, friend." Ricky's voice cut through the evening air, artificially friendly but edged with menace. "Nice night for a family outing, ain't it?" Marcus turned slowly, positioning himself between the approaching figures and Emma. His posture remained relaxed, but his weight had shifted subtly onto the balls of his feet. 2 young men emerged from the shadows, one confident and swaggering, the other hanging back with obvious reluctance. "Gentlemen," Marcus nodded politely, his voice steady. "Beautiful evening. You fellows need something." Ricky grinned, revealing yellowed teeth. "Funny you should ask. We're having a little cash flow problem, and we figured a nice guy like you might want to help out." Emma had climbed into the back seat, but hadn't locked the doors, her wide eyes visible through the window as she watched the strange men talking to her father. "I understand times can be tough," Marcus replied evenly, "but I'm just trying to get my daughter home for bedtime." Ricky's artificial smile disappeared as he stepped closer, close enough that Marcus could smell the stale cigarettes and cheap cologne. "See, that's where you're wrong, old man. Your bedtime story can wait. Right now, you're going to reach into that wallet and share some of that hard-earned cash." Marcus kept his hands visible and open, his breathing controlled. "I don't want any trouble here. My daughter's watching." Devin shifted nervously behind Ricky, his eyes darting between Marcus and the car, where Emma sat pressed against the window. "This don't feel right, Rick," he muttered under his breath. Ricky ignored his partner, pulling the switchblade from his jacket with a practiced flick. The metal caught the streetlight's glow as he held it low and threatening. "Your little princess that looks real sweet. Be a shame if Daddy had a bleed all over her pretty dress because he couldn't follow simple directions." Marcus's expression didn't change, but something deeper shifted in his posture. His weight settled differently, and his hands, still open and peaceful, moved almost imperceptibly into positions that could become defensive in milliseconds. "Last chance, working man," Ricky snarled, emboldened by what he mistook for fear. "Empty those pockets, or we're going to have to get creative about convincing you." Behind them, Emma's small voice carried through the partially open car window. "Daddy, are those men trying to hurt us?" The sound of his daughter's frightened voice was like a switch being thrown inside Marcus's chest. "Listen to me very carefully," Marcus said, his voice dropping to a lower register that carried new weight. "You need to walk away right now. Take your friend and leave." Ricky laughed, a harsh sound that echoed off the empty storefront. "Or what, security guard? You gonna write us up in your little report book?" Marcus's eyes never left Ricky's face, but his peripheral vision tracked every movement, every angle, every possible threat vector. His breathing remained steady, controlled, the kind of calm that came from facing far worse dangers in far worse places. "Rick, maybe we should just go," Devin whispered, tugging at his partner's sleeve. "Something ain't right about this guy." Ricky shoved Devin's hand away impatiently. "Shut up and grab the kid. Time to show Daddy what happens when people don't cooperate." The moment Devin took a step toward the car, Marcus moved. Not with the clumsy desperation of an untrained civilian, but with the fluid precision of someone whose muscle memory had been forged in the world's most dangerous places. His left hand swept up to deflect Ricky's knife arm, while his right drove forward in a controlled strike to the solar plexus. Ricky doubled over, gasping, the switchblade clattering across the asphalt. Devin froze mid-step, his mouth falling open as he watched his confident partner crumple to his knees, struggling to breathe. "I try to warn you," Marcus said quietly, his stance balanced and ready. "Now we're going to have a different kind of conversation." Devin's eyes widened as he took in the scene before him. His partner, who had seemed so confident and dangerous just moments before, was on his knees gasping for air. The quiet man they had targeted as an easy victim stood over him with the kind of stillness that spoke of absolute control. "What the hell?" Devin stammered, backing away instinctively. "Who are you, man?" Marcus remained motionless, his attention split between the two threats and his daughter in the car behind him. Just a father trying to get home safely with his child. Ricky struggled to his feet, his face flushed with rage and humiliation. His hand moved toward the fallen knife, but Marcus's boot settled over the weapon before he could reach it. "I wouldn't," Marcus said quietly. "This can end right here, right now. You walk away, and we all pretend this never happened." Devin was already backing toward the street, his survival instincts overriding any loyalty to his partner. "Rick, let's just go, man. This ain't worth it." But Ricky's pride had been wounded too deeply for reason. With a snarl of fury, he lunged forward, swinging wildly at Marcus's head. The movement was telegraphed, desperate, the kind of attack that would work against an untrained victim but was laughably slow against someone who had spent years learning to read human movement like a language. Marcus sidestepped effortlessly, his hand catching Ricky's wrist and redirecting the momentum into a joint lock that sent his attacker spinning to the ground. The joint lock held Ricky immobilized against the asphalt, his arm twisted at an angle that made any movement painful. Marcus applied just enough pressure to maintain control, without causing permanent damage. His training had taught him the difference between neutralizing a threat and inflicting unnecessary harm. "Please stop moving," Marcus said calmly. "You're only going to hurt yourself more." From inside the car, Emma's voice carried a tremor of fear. "Daddy, are you okay out there?" "I'm fine, sweetheart," Marcus replied without taking his eyes off his captive. "Just talking to these gentlemen about making better choices." Devin stood frozen 20 feet away, his phone clutched in his shaking hand. The confident swagger he had worn earlier was completely gone, replaced by the wide-eyed terror of someone who had finally understood the magnitude of their mistake. "You're military, aren't you?" Devin whispered, the pieces finally clicking into place. "The way you move, the way you talk." "Oh God, Rick, what do we do?" Ricky's struggles gradually ceased as the reality of his situation penetrated his rage. The man holding him down wasn't even breathing hard, hadn't broken a sweat, and showed no sign of the adrenaline rush that should accompany a fight. This was something else entirely. "Navy," Marcus answered quietly. "Been out for 3 years now, just trying to raise my daughter in peace." The simple honesty in his voice made Devin's knees weak with relief and shame. The wail of sirens began as a distant whisper, but grew steadily louder. Someone in the grocery store had called the police after witnessing the confrontation through the windows. Marcus felt Ricky tense beneath his controlled grip as the reality of their situation became undeniable. "Listen to me carefully," Marcus said, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed in life-or-death situations. "When the police arrive, you're going to tell them exactly what happened here. You tried to rob a man with his daughter, and when you threatened her, I defended my family." Devin dropped his phone, his hands shaking as he raised them in surrender to no one in particular. "We're so sorry, man. We didn't know. We thought you were just some regular guy." "I'm just some regular guy," Marcus replied, finally releasing Ricky and stepping back. "I work nights, take my daughter to school, help with homework. The only difference is I had some training that taught me how to protect what matters most." Ricky struggled to his feet, his earlier bravado completely extinguished. His shoulder ached from the joint lock, but what hurt more was the humiliation of being handled so effortlessly by someone he had completely misjudged. The police cruisers rounded the corner, their flashing lights painting the parking lot in alternating blues and reds. Marcus moved to the car where Emma waited, her small face pressed against the window with a mixture of fear and awe at her father's unexpected capabilities. Captain Sarah Chun stepped out of the lead patrol car, her experienced eyes immediately assessing the scene. 22 years on the force had taught her to read situations quickly, and this one told an interesting story. Two young men sat on the curb with their hands zip-tied behind their backs, while a calm father knelt beside his car, comforting a frightened child. "Mr. Brennan," Officer Rodriguez briefed her quietly. "Work security downtown. These two try to rob him at knife point. Witnesses say he handled them both without breaking a sweat." Captain Chun approached Marcus, who was gently explaining to Emma that the flashing lights were just there to help keep everyone safe. The little girl's eyes were wide, but no longer fearful, trusting completely in her father's protective presence. "Sir, I'm Captain Chun. Can you walk me through what happened here tonight?" Marcus rose slowly, his movements still carrying that precise economy that spoke of military training. "They approached while I was loading groceries, made threats against my daughter when I tried to de-escalate. I used the minimum force necessary to neutralize the threat." The captain studied him with growing interest. "Your file says you work private security, but your technique suggests more specialized training." "Navy SEAL," Marcus replied simply. "Team 6, 3 deployments. Been civilian for 3 years now, just trying to give my daughter a normal life." Captain Chin's eyebrows raised slightly. The elite of the elite, reduced to working night security to make ends meet. As the patrol cars pulled away with Ricky and Devin in custody, Captain Chin lingered beside Marcus's Toyota. Emma had finally fallen asleep in her car seat, exhausted by the evening's excitement, but secure in the knowledge that her father would always keep her safe. "Mr. Brennan, I have a proposition for you," Captain Chin said quietly. "The department has been looking for someone to head our new tactical training program. Someone with your background and demonstrated restraint would be invaluable, teaching our officers proper threat assessment and controlled response." Marcus considered the offer while gently adjusting Emma's seatbelt. It would mean better hours, better pay, and the chance to use his skills to help others rather than simply walking empty buildings at night. "I appreciate the offer, Captain. Can I have some time to think about it? I need to make sure any decision I make is right for Emma first." "Of course," she replied, handing him her business card. "A man who puts his daughter first is exactly the kind of person we need training our people." As Captain Chin drove away, Marcus climbed into the driver's seat and looked back at his sleeping daughter. Her small face was peaceful, completely trusting that tomorrow would be safe because Daddy was there to protect her. The quiet security guard had become something more tonight, but in the end, the only title that truly mattered was the one Emma whispered in her sleep. "Daddy." If this story touched your heart, please drop a comment and let us know your favorite part, or if you've witnessed hidden strength emerge when someone was protecting those they love.